So, we have some bad news about the Gateway game project. Will this affect the next builds coming? And is this the end for the Gateway game project? Well, all of this in a small update for our first test build coming in today's monthly update. My name is Kion, and let's get started. Now, before we dive into some sad news that we have related to Gateway, let's just take a step back because while this news might not be good, we're still making progress with our first test build, which we have made a few new models for. During our 2024 project recap video, we talked about how Lewis started to make Pad B infrastructure and hardware. However, we did forget to mention that Lewis modeled the shorter chopstick arms for Tower B. The reason why these are shorter than the ones at Pad A is because the longer chopsticks have a lot of inertia when moving at high speed, aka they wobble a bunch, even with the upgraded pistons that were installed prior to Flight 5. So with a smaller surface area to work with, it reduces the wobble, making it safer and better for catch attempts. Along with the shorter chopstick arms, Lewis worked on the structural segments that were observed during an RGV aerial flyover. We speculate that this structure, once fully assembled, will support the Booster Quick Disconnect or BQD assembly. Josh Louis Space also modeled the SPMT's in-ship and booster transport stand, which will come in handy for our next update after our first build, which will be focused on transporting vehicles to the launch site. These models also work just like the actual hardware in real life. Also, I recently allowed my Ship 30 model to be used in Gateway. Now, I could go on a rant and make this video like 10 hours long, but for the sake of time, let me put this short. This model might look very nice, but in reality, it's very inaccurate and not realistic in any way, shape, or form. It also lacks a few details, but I think it's good enough for the game right now. And hey, y'all gonna see my Ship 30 model in 3D. Now there's just one thing left before we talk about the news related to Gateway. I promise, stick with me. Now we have a very exciting announcement related to the asset test build about the release. We're happy to announce that by the time that our next monthly update goes live, the asset test build will be ready for release. We have been looking forward for this moment for months, and it's almost here! Also related to the asset test build, Lewis recently started to re-import models into Unreal Engine 5. This includes the booster model, ship model, production site models, launch site models, and a few other assets. Also, since the aim with the asset test build is to test game performance on low-end PCs, we began to work on the main play view that will probably over time evolve to the launch view. This includes adding what we're calling on-scene settings, which is basically a way to change some basic settings that you will need to change during gameplay. And don't worry, we'll cover all of this and more in our next monthly update, which will be a full overview on everything related to the asset test build. So with all of that covered, let me make a small announcement to announce some, well, bad news about the Gateway game project. Although everyone that has been following the project is excited to see this game grow in hopes that would be at least a bit more than what KSP2 ended up being, the following will probably shock you. On the 9th of January, I got a DM from Luz announcing some sad news that I was not expecting. So here is the announcement. Although we are making progress for our first test build, development of Gateway will stop in September of 2025, going forward for at least 2 years. Yeah. You heard it there. Yeah. Now you're probably saying, "Oh my god, I'm crying actually. Holy Oh my god, it's so sad, bro." Now you're probably saying, "Oh no, is it Jelver for Gateway?" Well, in my opinion, as a developer, is that no, it's technically not over just yet. You see, the reason why we're stopping development is basically because Lewis needs to focus on college and eventually making a living out of his 3D work, which Gateway takes a lot of time off. But this doesn't mean that I will be able to come every so often to update something. After all, Lewis even thought about that. But again, I don't know if I'm gonna have time for that, as I also have projects that I want to get done and maybe even pursue a career of my own. Now, again, it's only in 6 months, so we still have lots of time to make cool things, and some of you are probably wondering, what is next for Gateway? What updates are coming now that development is stopping? Well, great question. We're going to focus on the major updates like transporting vehicles out to the launch site, functions for stacking, launching Starship, and maybe even going to orbit and catching. As always, our original timeline was just an idea and not what we were exactly going to do. Now this probably brings up some other questions as well. Like, so will we have an assembling building like the Mega Bay or Star Factory to build vehicles like in KSP, and no more learning from manufacturing to colonizing Mars? Well, to answer that first question, it'll take too much time to get the parts/building rocket system working, and we believe that people would be more interested in launching Starship in the game instead of building vehicles. Also related to that Mars thing, as you can probably tell, we will probably have barely the time to work on orbital mechanics to make a rocket go to orbit a thing in Gateway before September. So yeah, although this might be a bit sad, at least look forward to the future builds and updates coming in the future. So well, there we go, that's all for this month's update. It's a bit sad to hear this, especially given how far we've come into development and especially our relationship with the community. But we'll make the most out of it, and who knows, maybe we'll come back once we have the time, but for now, that's all for today. Remember to keep up to date with the latest development updates, follow us on Twitter/X, and make sure to subscribe for future videos related to Gateway. Now if you want to watch our 2024 project recap video, click the screen right now, and I hope to see you there. And as always, thanks for watching.